a Dickie suit that was like 2 sizes too big. So I would just wear my practice shit underneath my whatever I was wearing at school and just take
You
it
could
off.
wear a suit of armor under those Dickie outfits.
Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 476ers podcast. This is, I don't know what episode this is. I usually do the homework before. It's like 33. It's been a while since we've done anything under the 476ers moniker. Hopefully everyone is following, smashing that subscribe button, smashing that like button on YouTube. No one is smashing the like button, but people are watching the videos and then messaging me about how they enjoy it instead of liking the video, which would be more beneficial to my pockets. I don't give a fuck about your opinion. Just watch it and like it. I'm joking. I do care about your opinion. Sometimes. Somewhat.
You care so much.
A little bit. Anyway, we got Vic here. Vic, say hello.
Yo.
Everyone will be able to see Vic immediately, so everyone knows that already, but we're going to do it anyway. So we figured we'd talk about some basketball stuff. We'll talk some Last Dance stuff before we do the three to Tango podcast with Fred. But before we get into that, let's talk about Zion Williamson. So people probably have been paying attention a little bit, maybe not. I don't know if people have really been paying attention too much to this. I mean, I saw it on Twitter. We know Zion, I mean, based on the homework that Kevin O'Connor did for The Ringer, that Zion is like one of the leading searches in basketball. So people should be seeing this, but give me the breakdown. I don't completely understand it. I've read the thing. I was a little bit sick this weekend, and I'm also a little stupid. So I read it 3 or 4 times, and I had to read the same sentences a few times. So I just didn't completely understand.
So from what I've learned today, he signed with a marketing agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a month, which was supposed to be a 5-year contract, a month later, he signs with CAA, who I guess has marketing built into it.
Okay.
So he breached his contract, signed with somebody else. And according to what is out right now, him and his lawyer are claiming that the contract he signed had like some terms that were illegal according to North Carolina law.
Oh, okay.
So that
the new contract he signed,
the contract with the marketing agent, the one that
okay,
the woman and the agent who's suing Zion.
Okay.
So it's saying that this contract was void from the beginning because it's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what those terms are. I'm not an expert in North Carolina law.
Mm-hmm.
What I read didn't get into it. So that's why he felt that he was allowed to sign with CAA, which is obviously a much bigger agency, one of the like top 3, 5, whatever.
Yep.
So he's getting sued for $100 million. And part of this, they want him for some reason to admit that he took like gifts, or at least that his family took gifts and like illegal sort of things with the assumption that he'll play for Duke. He's gonna get stuff as long as you play for Duke.
Yeah.
Right. So this is huge for a few reasons. Obviously, because it's Zion, right, which is supposed to be the next coming. But I'd argue even more so because it's Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Duke never, ever, ever comes up in these things.
Yeah.
And they're always a powerhouse. One of the few things Bill Simmons does get right is talking about, not one of the few things, but what he does get right is talking how Coach K doesn't catch any heat that Calipari gets for buying it completely in the one and done thing.
Mm-hmm.
But even before one and done, right, they were always sort of good. You know, he's like the winningest college basketball coach in history now, as far as like wins. So this could go a lot of different ways. And it's kind of crazy that it's happening during the pandemic because obviously the NCAA cannot look into this like they would.
Mm-hmm.
But they will, especially if it's Duke.
Yeah.
Because if it's Duke, they're going to send a crazy message to college basketball.
Mm-hmm. So they snitched on him, on Zion, essentially, because he bounced on him.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. They might have already been working on it for him. And they were like, all right, well, you want to fucking go? Then here you go. Take this with you. But it's not as big of a story as I think it would have been for not all of this happening of the COVID. because I found out about it when I texted you about it. It's because it came up on the ticker at the bottom.
Yep.
And it was never like a leading story on ESPN, and there's literally nothing fucking happening.
Yeah. No, that's kind of what I saw it, and I was, sometimes I wonder how exhausted people are of this. Like, who's surprised when they read something? Though it's surprising that he's getting sued. But when you read the details that's why that's what I was confused about. I'm sorry. Let me take a step back. That's what I was confused about. What you just said. They want him to admit. That was confusing to me because I had never seen some shit like that in a legal proceeding. You know what I mean? It's not I never seen someone say, "I want you to admit," unless it meant it resulted in like some sort of prosecution or some sort of like I'm suing you and you have to admit. I want you to admit you're wrong and fucking pay me the damages, right? But that's not what's happening here. It's I'm suing you and I also want you to admit like these things, which damn, 100, that's a lot of money to get sued for. $100 million.
It's a shit ton. He does not
He's
have
gonna
$100 million
make no, he
yet.
doesn't have $100 million readily.
No.
He's gonna easily make $100 million in his career.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's, I mean, listen, the money is going to be immaterial to Zion specifically. They're not going to give them $100 million though. I don't think.
No, you always ask for more than what you're going to get. But again, this is more for me anyway, as not just a basketball fan. Like, I follow college basketball.
Yeah.
This is huge for Duke.
Yeah.
If this comes out as being real.
Yeah, there's going to be penalties out the wazoo.
Yeah, this is a huge stain on their legacy because they were kind of, stainless.
What are the chances? I mean, something like this usually leads to penalties that are like they can't participate in the tournament, right? I mean, would they do that to Duke? I guess. I mean, they have to, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way the NCAA goes, the thing is, like, so they just had that law, like that law in California made them have to like revisit all of their policies about players being able to make money off their likeness. But this would have been done previous to that.
Yeah, correct.
So I don't know. So that might be the only saving grace. But with like what happened to Louisville not too long ago with Rick Pitino eventually getting fired. Now, mind you, like, getting basically soliciting prostitutes for recruits is very different than, getting some money for your relatives and wearing Nike shoes. But I don't know. There's definitely going to be some sort of penalty if it comes out as being true. Yeah. And that's why I think, and again, they didn't release any of these details, at least as far as I've read. The reason that this is coming out is because this is a marketing firm, and their job is to make sure his image is cool.
And they're trying to slander it.
But maybe that's because they knew this and were trying to help him with this.
Correct. Yeah.
And then literally a few days after he signs the contract with them, he turns around and signs another contract, which is so strange that would ever happen to begin with. Yeah. You would think somebody like CAA or Rock Nation would have already had that lined up with one of those huge agencies already.
You almost wonder if it's crazy to think, and maybe there's some homework to be done there about the relationship between who he signed it with. But like you said, it's crazy to think that when he was coming out of high school, he would have had the biggest marketing firm or the biggest agency already on him before he even got that far. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So you almost wonder if there's a relationship there. And also, if he signed the contract, it almost – because we see cases like this. This almost sounds like a slap suit almost. Not a slap suit, I guess. Not really a slap suit because slap suits are different. But it's interesting in that if the contract was null and void because it was violating terms, right, that means that what are they even suing for? You know what I mean? What could they even sue for? Again, now, I don't know. And like you said, we're not experts here in that. But it just seems like because back to your point about CAA, not only is it about CAA having been on top of that, but CAA has like a massive legal department. They would have known. You know what I mean? They would have, hey, I thought you signed with these people over here. No, well, what are the details? You know what I mean? And you think they would have been on top of that. And they'd be like, no, we're good to sign this kid. You almost wonder if they're just doing this just to tarnish his name. Maybe they wanted money from him originally. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of speculation happening on this side. I get real creative with my speculation. You know what I mean? I could write a fucking novel. I'm like James Patterson. Who I don't know if people know who James Patterson is. James Patterson wrote a bunch of crime novels.
Yeah.
But most famously, he has the movies with Morgan Freeman. It doesn't matter. He has movies with Morgan Freeman. It doesn't matter. It's not important. That's killing me. Along Came a Spider, I think, is based on a James Patterson novel. If anyone's ever seen that movie.
The question now is, do you know who James Patterson is?
I know. I have James Patterson books here. I'm looking at them right here. I can't remember the movie names.
You can't read the names of the books that are right there?
Well, no, Cat and Mouse is right there, but I don't think anyone's going to know what Cat and Mouse is necessarily. Daniel X. That's not a good book by James Patterson. He tried to get cute and write some sort of fantasy. It wasn't good.
Got off the rails early, huh?
Huh? What?
So we got off the rails a little early, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean that was gonna happen. But anyway, the point is, I could do what James Patterson does, but better. Especially if we're talking about Zion Williamson and contracts in North Carolina. I could write all types of speculative books. But the point being, I mean, to your point, this is also kind of like, a 19-year-old kid is making decisions that maybe he is not built to be making. You know what I mean? Like, who's handling this? Someone should be handling this shit. Not having him being put in a position where he has to make these decisions. That's going to be problematic. And even to your point about the California law allowing players to benefit off their likeness, I don't think that covers schools paying players or providing benefits for a player to come to the school.
No, for sure not.
Yeah.
The only difference, there might be some leeway. Mm-hmm. What I mean is, like, the punishment might not be as harsh if they weren't already sort of kind of conceding to the fact that maybe they own too much of the players while they're playing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is fascinating. I'm very much surprised this isn't already a bigger story, and very, very, very fascinating to see where this ends. I mean, this could all be over in a week. Or this could play out for months, which I guess could be true about anything. But either way, the ending to the story is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, there's probably like somebody could do like a sociological experiment on how we're digesting news right now. Like, you almost wonder if because people right now just don't give a shit about sports. I mean, people care about sports, but I think the way, like, our room for caring about shit like this is just not there right now. We're being bombarded by way too much negative stuff to see Zion Williamson and be like, well, who gives a fuck about this right now? All right. I appreciate that reporting, my man. Because I was like I said, I read the same sentences 4 different times. I was like, what? They want him to admit it? What is this about? Anyway, before we take a trip in the Wayback Machine, to talk about some MJ stuff. There's another topic that I don't know if you've seen or been privy to, is the whole Giannis thing. Have you been following this?
About Giannis wanting to leave? Or
Giannis
leaving?
Possibly going to Golden State.
So I didn't see anything specific to that, but what the very small amount of reporting I've been paying attention to has been like, if they don't try and get better, then he's going to go. And it's like, no fucking shit.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's funny. I had a joke. Me and Fred talked about this, and I might release that later when we did our timeline, our Twitter, what's trending. We talked about Giannis, and that was the exact reaction. Was like, the report was, if they don't continue to try to get better, he's not going to be happy. And it's like, what player is sitting there like, no, it's fine. No, don't you worry. Let's strike out. Don't worry. I'm here, man. I'm sticking it out. Except for Dame Lillard, who is doing that with Portland. I'm sorry. Listen, I love Dame. Poor Dame, man. I would die for that man. But I would much rather live for him. But what I did find interesting about the Giannis thing, and I pointed this out on Twitter, was that the latest report, that report was reported by reported by a beat writer out of Golden State. You know what I mean? Which is kind of what got me a little shook. Like, I did not enjoy reading that. It's one thing to have a Milwaukee beat writer report that. It's
Right.
not like the guy in Golden State is getting a lot of traveling time right now. There's not a lot of airtime going on. I doubt he just bounced back from Milwaukee a few days ago. You almost assume, yeah, who knows? But who gave him? Who's telling him this? Who gave him this? And the last time that we saw something like this was with KD. Remember, that started as like a random article. I forgot who wrote that. It reminded me of Brian Windhorst. Brian Windhorst in 2008, yeah, I think during the Olympics, that the Redeem team was the first time I saw the idea that LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh were going to team up. And I was like, this is nonsense. This is not fucking true. And then, yeah, lo and behold, 2 years later, here we are. Well, that just happened with KD, and now here we are experiencing with Giannis. But with that said, me and Fred had this conversation. I think it'd be interesting to get your opinion on it. He asked me if Giannis going to the Warriors would be worse than KD, worse for the NBA. I should not worse as in like bad, but worse as in the what they're putting on the floor is going to be more dominant with Giannis than it was with KD. What do you think?
No.
Same. Give me your reasoning.
KD is still for all the things that KD can do. He's still a better overall player.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and I actually want to talk about this too eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Chuck Klosterman make this point where like it can be true that LeBron is better at playing basketball, but Mike will just be a better basketball player.
For sure.
Whereas the same thing with Giannis, like Giannis might be a better basketball player, like KD's better at playing basketball. He can.
And I don't even know if that's true. Honestly.
No, I don't think it's true at their like absolute peaks. But I'm saying like right now.
Yeah.
Giannis, if KD wins an MVP next year, it'd be a little bit more surprising than if Giannis did.
Yeah, correct. That's
because
true.
of the trajectory of their careers.
Yeah, that's fair.
But KD's ability to shoot the ball, it just being like light years ahead of Giannis, and then being able to do almost everything Giannis can do except for just be as physical as Giannis. It's just that ability to be physical. It just makes him a different player. It makes him an easier transition into the Golden State. It makes them more deadly because now, I mean, I guess you don't have to guard Draymond, but like you had 5 guys that can make threes.
Yeah.
Like even Draymond is better shooter than Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is saying a lot about Giannis's shot.
Yeah, or saying nothing about either one of their shots. You know what I mean?
So yeah, it's nowhere near as bad, but even like the implication of it, nothing will be as bad as LeBron.
No. Well, I think KD is worse, in my opinion. We've had this conversation. I think what KD did was worse to me. Because KD left, I mean, they're both shitty franchises, except that they were competing at a high level. They, we could spend 3 hours talking about this. I don't want to do that. We'll agree to disagree, except I don't even agree with your disagreement. You're right, though. Everything you said is pretty much what I said. The only thing, there was 2 things I added. One is I think people have the conception that Giannis is like an all-time great passer, and he's not. He's like a very raw passer. He makes the right pass because when he drives, 4 people collapse, and therefore any pass is the right pass. They're all open now. You know what I mean? Yep. But that doesn't mean he's like the high IQ player that KD is to me. I think KD is just a higher IQ player. But also, actually 2 other points. So it's 3 points. I'm sorry, that's the middle finger. To that point, who gives the one with the middle finger? Like, I talk with my hands. Thank God you couldn't see that one, because my hands were off screen. I just peeped that. But I gave the middle finger as the one. I said one, you know what I mean? But now I'm going to do a pinky instead of just doing this fucking but we're going to go pinky. One, so the 1 point is that, I think he's just a higher IQ player, but a better shooter, better offensive player all around, just by every measure. Giannis maybe is a more dominant defender right now, but that's not. KD was in his prime is a fucking great defender, so that doesn't mean anything.
There's a lot of the same things.
Yesterday I was watching Yeah, yesterday I put on YouTube that one of the games that the NBA streamed was Warriors versus Grizzlies. This is 4 years ago when Russ got hurt, maybe 5 years ago actually now, and
Wait, you said Warriors, Grizzlies, and Russ got hurt?
Russ got hurt. Yeah, remember there was the 1 year Russ got injured. So KD gets injured, the next year Russ gets injured.
You mean Thunder?
Thunder. I'm sorry. What did I say? Warriors?
Yeah.
I'm
twice.
so sorry. Thunder. In Paris. Anyway, the Thunder. And for some reason, this is the Jerry Bayless game. Jerry Bayless is getting off for whatever reason. And Scotty Brooks ends up putting KD on Jared to cool him off. You know what I mean? And that tells you exactly the point I'm trying to make. Like KD could guard anybody, literally on the court. Not to say Giannis can't, but I don't feel great when Giannis is switched on a point guard. He's still, to me, Giannis can be lumbering going laterally.
He's not as fluid.
Yeah, he just isn't. Correct.
I mean, KD would guard Kobe sometimes.
Correct.
When Kobe at the end of games, Scotty would put KD on Kobe.
And in fact, as stupid as it was, who was KD's first coach who tried to put him at the 2 in the NBA?
I don't know. Was it Sam Mitchell?
Sam Mitchell. It was Sam Mitchell. Well, it was not the smartest decision. It wasn't a smart decision, but you could have. You could have. You know what I mean? Anyway, so that's one. 2, KD was in his prime. This is prime KD with prime Steph and prime Clay and prime Draymond coming off of Defensive Player of the Year championship, Defensive Player of the Year. So it's all 4 of these guys in their prime. Now, Giannis should be going there on the back end. Draymond is slowly becoming more and more of a non-factor. Clay coming off an injury. Steph is going to be Steph no matter what. I think Steph and Clay's games are going to translate as they get older, but defensively they're going to go backwards. And Draymond is, whatever. And then the third fact, which is the thing that that I don't think people are really thinking about, and which is the thing I usually don't talk about, but it's important to note. The reason why they were able to sign KD was because Steph was on that cheap-ass contract.
Yep.
And the salary cap had just gone up.
Yeah,
so they were able to afford Steph, Clay, Draymond, and KD. Well, if they sign Giannis, they're only going to be able to afford Giannis, Steph, and Clay. And then it's going to be who the fuck knows what else is going to go out here. They're going to end up replacing Draymond with Giannis probably. Yeah. And then it's just going to be it
probably would be a sign and trade.
Yeah, it's going to have to be. So, it just all of those factors to me makes it not not as dominant as when KD went there. There's no that KD staff. I mean, you're talking about 2 of the arguably top 20 players. You could say by the end of their careers, you could probably argue 2 of the top 20 all time.
KD and Steph.
Yeah.
I mean, possibly.
Yeah. But possibly by the end of their career.
Potential, sure.
Because it was the same argument for LeBron and D Wade, but D Wade, we didn't know we were at the end of his career at that point, pretty much.
But D Wade is still.
Oh, he's still up there. He's with top 30, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to really run down the list.
Yeah, but he's still a top 5 player his position.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. He's either 4th or 5th on that list.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. So yeah, you know what I mean? And this is not even to make the comparisons between them, but it's just the most recent comparison otherwise. So it's not the same. Giannis still, and this is one thing that I'll agree with what some of the guys say nowadays, just that Giannis got stuff to prove still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? KD, we know, could get a bucket when you need a bucket. He's got 36 different ways to get a bucket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Giannis, we're just not so sure. You know what I mean? Listen, that game against the Lakers before all this shit happened told me a lot. You know what I mean? Because LeBron really did lock him up on 2 different possessions back to back in a way that was just like, it was very reminiscent of MJ yesterday to Scott Burrell. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Listen, I wish I could be anywhere near as happy as Scott Burrell is, facing such anguish and disappointment on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like, imagine going to work every day and you're getting bullied constantly.
Well,
you're just happy as shit.
Well, before we get back, I got like
okay, go ahead. Yeah,
that aren't super important about Scott Burrell, but just interesting. Yeah. But the other thing too is like Joel Embiid locked up Giannis. And I know that says a lot about Joel, and I love him. Like I would
dearly.
But Joe cannot lock up KD at his best.
No.
There's not a player on the planet. And like even like as much love as Scotty and Mike are getting for defense, they'd give him fits, probably like no player in this and KD's generation could, but they've also never seen KD.
Yeah. Yeah. When people talk about when there's like that conversation that's like one-on-one and they put like LeBron and MJ, that to me is less interesting. That's not that interesting to me. You know what I mean? I don't think MJ would have problems guarding LeBron necessarily, but KD is the one that when I think about, it's like, who the fuck ever is going to guard KD? It's just not a human being. What, maybe Dennis Rodman in his prime, like Pistons Dennis Rodman can be.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't even think so because I don't even
foul this. Yeah, just foul him.
I'm just gonna foul the shit out of him. Yeah, that's the only way you're gonna defend him.
Foul. I mean, we got to remember Dennis Rodman was a good perimeter defender when you could beat people the fuck up.
Yeah, correct. That's true.
And then flagrant fouls occurred, and then he stopped playing on the perimeter.
Yeah,
and he was 6'9".
And I would almost argue too at that time he was a good perimeter defender before perimeter players were going in and out as much. You know what I mean? That's before they were going laterally as much, switching laterally, I would say, going left to right, right to left. Whereas KD has like a vicious crossover.
Yeah, the ball handling isn't.
Yeah, it's just not there. Yeah, I don't know why I had to go through a weird. I could have just said the ball handling.
It's fine. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we had not seen Tim Hardaway yet, so.
But so Scotty Burrell, right? Mm-hmm. Apparently, he was also a baseball player, but had like an over 90 mile per hour fastball.
Oh shit! He should have hit MJ with one of those.
He definitely would have been cut from the team. And then, but apparently though, to this day, they're still really good friends.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, so like they still go golfing and stuff together. So
yeah,
like,
it's like it's like a different level of respect. Whereas like Steve Kerr earned his respect by standing up to him.
Yeah.
MJ dumped so much anguish and abuse into Scott Burrell, and Scott Burrell just never shook. You got to respect that dude. Right?
Yeah, he killed him with kindness. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what though? And I meant to make this point, but like that pod last week went for like 3 or 4 hours. I just was dying. But
you talk about that pod like the national media talks about the NBA tanking, about the Sixers tanking. I just want to tell you that.
Okay, cool.
6 years of tanking.
Have you ever seen? I mean, we definitely went for at least 3.5 hours. But
3 hours.
You ever seen Mark Wahlberg with his actual friends?
Yeah.
He does not treat those people well.
No, he does not. No. I mean, have you ever seen us with our actual friends?
No, but it's different. Like he makes them do things.
Oh.
Like, have you ever seen like the Little Dicky show?
Yeah, no, I don't like the Little Dicky.
I mean, I don't like him as a rapper, but he's an entertaining person.
Is he?
But yeah,
I'm sorry.
But the show is actually really funny, and you'd actually like it. But anyway, at one point in the episode, in one of these episodes,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
He thinks these people, like he went to camp with these other boys, and he thought they were his friends. But as an adult, he realized they only liked him because he would do whatever they told him to do.
Oh, okay.
So like basically make a fool of himself. For their enjoyment.
Gotcha.
And he's like, yo, these guys, they thought I was so funny. And it's like, yeah, but they were laughing at you.
Yeah.
And like, I saw a like behind the scenes thing. I think it was like with the Wahlburger show. With like his entourage, like the actual show. He had like 8 or 10 dudes with him. And they're doing everything he wants to do. He's going golfing that day. He's working out that day. They're doing it all with him. He's paying for it all. But he's like, demeaning the fuck out of him the whole time. And like maybe they get it, like this is just who he is, he doesn't actually mean it, blah blah blah, but it's also like he don't even give a fuck. A camera's here to see it.
Yeah.
He's calling you like crazy names. He's trying to get his one friend to eat like something like a divot, like a piece of grass that came off. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this on TV?
That's weird.
Yeah, so like it's actually not that strange that guys who think like are providing all of this for you are treating everybody along for the ride like they're not as important.
Yeah.
But even with that, like I don't think MJ's as shitty as Mark Wahlberg. That seems to be.
Yeah, I don't even think he does shit like that. Yeah.
No, but But yeah, no, not Scotty Brooks, Scotty Burrell
Mm-hmm.
is still really good friends with Michael. So
Wow.
clearly, like, it's not that bad of a blood.
Yeah, that he's a winner from last night. You know what I mean? He's a
Oh
winner
yeah.
because it's just like, damn, man, I don't know. I can't take that abuse. That I would not last. We've talked about this. I would not last with MJ. That would just stand no chance. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Day one, I would try to fight him. The thing is, you can push me, and I would fucking be working my ass off. I would work my ass off. Don't get me wrong. I'm a hard fucking worker.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna call me a hoe or some shit like that.
That was
you know what I mean?
that was my favorite part of it, and I want to. We'll talk more about that with Fred. But I died laughing.
Yeah.
Because this was so unnecessary.
Yeah.
It came like he finished his sentence. It was a 2-second pause, and then he threw "ho" in right at the end.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful and perfect and unnecessary. Yep. But the other thing I learned today was that the whole trade that was going to happen in 95?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 95. Right before Michael comes back, Krause was going to trade Pippen, right, for Sean Kemp, and whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was. That pick ended up being Jalen Rose.
Oh, wow.
So, like, I heard what's his name, Jacoby on the Jacoby show was like, I wish that trade would have happened because Michael Jordan definitely would have punched you. Mm-hmm. He's like, you would have definitely been one of the teammates that Michael Jordan punched.
Yeah, you would have had the story. He would not have come back to Sean Kemp though. I can't imagine that would have went well.
No, Sean Kemp would have got traded.
Yeah, it would not have lasted. It was not going to last for Sean. Even though, you know what, one thing that was interesting, I didn't realize Sean was an all-star with Cleveland. And they showed in that all-star game. I didn't realize he was an all-star with Cleveland. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it is kind of funny because what's his name? The other Sonics forward ended up being an all-star too. It was two Sonics. It was
I know who you're talking about.
But I just remember thinking, like, man, Sean Kemp looks real weird in this all-star game, and then being like, oh shit, that's definitely not Sean Kemp.
Yeah.
Like for a split second, they show a guy in a Sonic uniform running the floor, and I was like, man, Sean Kemp got real out of shape by '98, and it's like, nope, that's not Sean Kemp at all.
Just a year early. That's all.
So yeah, for real though. Yeah, by 2000, he was like a whole different person.
Yeah. Let me see.
By the year 2000.
6 Sonics. No, but this is good that we had this conversation because that'll bring us to. We wanted to talk about some of MJ's relationships. Well, specifically with Charles Barkley, but I think it is interesting to look at his relationships with like Patrick Ewing, because for a couple different reasons. That's Sam Perkins. Yeah, that's the other forward, right?
On the '98 All-Star team?
It doesn't matter. We'll look this up another time. I don't feel like doing this.
Okay.
I mean, I do. It's really frustrating me. So we wanted to talk about the relationship. So I had read. Did you know that Chuck? I don't know if I asked you this. Did Chuck and MJ are not friends anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. And the reason why apparently is because Chuck essentially was critical about MJ running the Bobcats. Which, you know what? It's interesting in that there's a couple things I want to mention about the book that we can talk about tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, we can even mention it now too. I think it's fine about the book you read, Michael Jordan: The Life, and that he wanted to the writer, I can't remember his name. You know his name probably. Mm-hmm. Wanted to interview Michael, but Michael didn't want to be interviewed unless he was more involved in the project. You know what I mean? And well, just like we're seeing in this documentary, which we'll talk about again tomorrow, it just seems like when there's a story being told, if MJ feels blindsided, which could just be any negative story essentially, is going to blindside MJ. Going back to the SI cover of him playing baseball, Chuck over here criticizing his ownership of the Bobcats, seems like MJ no longer wants to be friends with you. And I find that interesting because MJ and Chuck, especially the way Chuck, at least in Chuck's mind, Chuck and MJ were really, really good friends. I mean, we kind of knew that. You know what I mean? Yeah. They were really good friends. We've always known that. That wasn't really anything new to me. So I I don't know. What do you think? I know you probably got some good deep dives here that you have to elaborate on with.
So, side note: the All-Star was Vin Baker.
Vin Baker. That's it. I fucking knew it. Yeah. Thank you.
So, all the books I've actually read about Jordan, How to Be Like Mike, Michael Jordan in Life, they always mention relationships in a very interesting way. In particular, after he became famous.
Okay.
So, like, we're talking like 1981 and beyond. As like kind of being like an ends to a means, more than like building
a relationship, a bond, or
right.
Gotcha.
And because like all of his friends after that, like the guy George, whatever the fuck his name was,
the white dude, yeah.
That was the guy who picked him up from the airport from Chicago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it's like that's fine. Like relationships and their origins come in all different ways,
for sure.
Right, but he found value in George. It wasn't like they were around each other, they found similar interests, and then over time something bonded. It was like, you're literally the first person I talked to when I got off the plane in Chicago, and the guy who was supposed to pick me up wasn't there. So that motherfucker could have been Jordan's best friend for all we know. And he didn't because he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
With Patrick Ewing, though, it's really interesting because they first met as seniors in high school.
Oh, okay.
Even though like Patrick was Patrick go to school in North Carolina? I think he did go to school in the South when he came from Jamaica. But anyway, they met at North Carolina's basketball camp.
Okay.
So they were like rising. I think they might have been rising seniors. They were like between the summer between junior and senior year of high school. And they both were considering going. And imagine that. Like Patrick is one of the most dominant college basketball players of all time.
Yeah.
So if they would have played together, it would have been nuts. Like that 81 team, it was 81, 82 where Michael won the national championship as a freshman, hit the game-winning shot. That team would have had Sam Perkins, James Worthy, Michael Jordan, and Patrick Ewing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then a little bit after that, Brad Daugherty and Kenny Smith, like the following year. Crazy.
Yeah, that's up there with the greatest ever.
Yeah. So they've always had a long relationship, but because Patrick didn't go to UNC, he always saw Patrick as a rival. So like even as close as they've ever were, and they were close. Like you even see it in the doc how after he beats the Knicks, Patrick goes to the Bulls locker room to see him.
Yeah.
Like Michael's not going over there no matter how fucking close they are.
Fuck no.
You know? So they were definitely friends, but it was always like, you're my rival. And I think and that's the difference between Michael and everybody. He could still maintain that even with the closest relationships he has. But with Chuck, it was a little bit different. Chuck went to Auburn. You know, they didn't play each other a lot. I don't even know if they might have matched up once in college. I don't know. I had to look into it. Actually, some interesting research there. But there was no direct back and forth. And Auburn was never a great team when Charles was there. So it never was like he was a problem for Jordan. But it's that 92 Dream Team thing, right?
Yeah.
Where he got really close with those guys. He let his guard down a little bit. And possibly because he kind of already knew that he might walk away after that next season. Yep. So it was a little bit of a different mindset. And he also, by that point, knew he was the best.
Yeah.
So everybody was, after that, he knew that you guys are just a peg underneath me anyway. But when Michael retires, Chuck is heartbroken. Because that summer they had talked about like making plans to retire at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So they could go into the Hall of Fame together.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, and obviously that would have got fucked up anyway. Like Jordan retires twice after that, but he was really upset by that. But he also understood, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. I've also talked about on a different podcast where they do interviews together, like as a tandem.
Yeah.
Like the one that no one really knows about, and actually. Oprah actually has really good interviews with a lot of Chicago sports stars. She has a really good one with the whole Bulls team.
Okay.
Where Scotty talks about groupies.
Oh, I remember this
and
interview.
it
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they
but
played a clip in the documentary of that interview, actually. I think.
did they? Maybe.
I think so.
It might have also like resurfaced on Twitter.
Maybe.
But I watched it. I watched it. I don't know how many years ago. This was back in college, so like 7-8 years ago now. And it's amazing. But the better one is the one with Chuck.
Yeah.
Because Michael's like in a full 3-piece suit.
Mm-hmm.
Charles is out there in a fucking Jordan sweatsuit, like a velour Jordan sweatsuit. And like Oprah like comments about how different their attire is, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm wearing this cheap Jordan shit." and like, it's also when he tells his story about how Michael does not give people money to
people. Yeah.
And he actually stopped Chuck from doing it one time.
Mm-hmm.
And like all these memes that are not, all these faces that are becoming memes about Jordan now, always existed.
Yeah.
You know, and like the face he makes at Chuck after he tells that story on the fucking Oprah Winfrey show would have been instant.
Yeah, would have been a meme immediately.
Twitter gold.
Yeah.
Twitter gold instantly. You know what I mean? So they were close. And plus Chuck loves to golf.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck loves to golf. Chuck is not as famous, but is incredibly famous, an incredible athlete. They had so much in common. And what Michael loves about Chuck, or loved about Chuck, which he loves about Charles Oakley and all these other guys, is they will say all the things he won't.
Yeah. Yep.
So when someone says, "Can I get an autograph?" Chuck will be like, "Can't you see I'm fucking golfing? I don't bother you. I don't come to your house and bother you. So leave me alone." Right? And Michael gets to laugh and giggle underneath his breath.
Yeah.
He's not going to co-sign, but he's not going to say, "Hey, Charles, stop that."
Yeah. Correct.
Right? So these are the people that he kept around him.
Mm-hmm.
But
ends to a meme, like you said.
Right. Exactly. So, but what Michael wants from all this is like absolute, like unequivocal support.
Yeah.
Right. And for some people, they can't do that. For Charles Oakley, like when they played against each other, that's obvious, right? That's business, right? But Charles will never step out, and Charles Oakley, I mean, will never step out and say something about Michael that's unflattering.
Yeah.
Right. He just won't say anything at all. It's just like, well, you know, like if you watch all these Charles Oakley interviews, anytime something fishy about Michael comes up, well, you know, it just, you know, how it was or something like that, right? You can't interpret anything, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, part of what Michael loved about Chuck is part of what ruined their relationship. He's gonna say what he thinks.
Yep.
And to be fair, he's not wrong, right?
Yeah.
But in particular, what he actually got interviewed and talked about this again 2 weeks ago. And he kind of felt like thought I was kind of giving you advice. Stop with these yes men. They're not helping you. It's not looking good down there.
Yeah.
And Charles said he doesn't think that they're ever going to be friends again.
That's so crazy. That's crazy. And sucks. Chuck, listen, Chuck was doing his job. You know what I mean? That's the important thing is Chuck, if you're in the media, like this is kind of your job. MJ is such an interesting character, and we're going to talk more about it tomorrow, but he's such an interesting character in that when you see the way he talks on the floor, that to me is MJ, right? That's him. You know what I mean? In practice, the way he's talking, that's him. Which is the dude that we would expect listens to like rap. You know what I mean? Like this is hip hop MJ right here. The way he talks, call somebody a hoe. Like I've never heard somebody call somebody a hoe outside of hip hop. You know what I mean? But then he has these measured, everything else is measured. But then you have those moments. That's what makes everything so great. Is like that moment, the moment with, I don't give whatever Isaiah says, probably bullshit anyway. You know what I mean? Like that's that little bit leaking out. You know what I mean? That's like unfiltered now, letting his guard down, or him laughing at Gary, like a little unfiltered, no longer measured. Everything else is measured. You know what I mean? So he could have been a politician. except for the anger, probably the cursing out and calling people hoes. You know what I mean? I don't know.
He kind of was a politician.
Yeah, for sure. He is a politician. And he's like a politician is doing a shitty job governing one of the NBA franchises. So and Chuck called him out on it. That is a shame. Those were great stories that you gave. I mean, that's just crazy. Let's talk a little bit about last night. We're not going to step too much on everything that happened. We'll leave some of the bigger, broader things for tomorrow with Fred. What were some of the things that you wanted to mention, I guess? I know you had a couple of things you wanted to – actually, you know what? Hold on. There's one thing I did want to bring up.
Okay.
Before you go. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Even
though this is jumping into episode 8 a little bit, but who gives a shit? We're not doing this one in order. Glenn Rice is never the same after the series against the Bulls. I found it interesting, right? Because I was like, we talked about Glenn Rice on this podcast. We did that podcast about 90s players that we think would have been successful today. So I'm like, man, I think that year that they go and play the Bulls, Glenn Rice scores like 20-something games. So I go look it up. He scored like 25 a game that year. The next year goes to the Lakers, scores 17 a game, and it's just downhill after that. 17 to 13 to 10, so he's pretty much out of the league. Goes into and Glenn is not even, but Glenn is the shooting guard on the other side, on the other team. He would be the matchup against MJ, and he is never the same after that. I thought that was fucking interesting as shit. On a whim, I just looked it up.
I wonder how many shot attempts, like what the difference in shot attempts are too.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I
rewatched the 92 game 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 92 game 3 when they play the Heat in the second round. Was it 92? Fuck, I can't remember. But it's game 3 against the Heat. It's Steve Smith's second year. It was Brian Shaw, Steve Smith, Glenn Rice.
Mm-hmm.
Backcourt, kind of maybe Steve Smith and Glenn Rice kind of being small forwards at times.
Yeah.
But basically, they're a 3-guard front. Like Glenn Rice is not really posting up at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was game 3, and this is the best of 5 series.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bulls win. It's a wrap, and it's just so funny.
Yeah.
That these Miami Heat announcers are just they want them to win so bad. Every little thing they do right. But this is the game Michael scores 55, and he scores 53 of them in 3 quarters. He scores 2 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And like the game is still within reach, and it's just like funny that like they know this guy at this point is by far, and even by all accounts, this is the best Jordan. His first 3-peat run. Yeah. Like he's by far heads and shoulders the best player to ever play, even versus the second version of himself.
Yep. And
at the end of the game, Steve Smith and Brian Shaw walk up on him on the free throw line and are doing like, oh, you better not miss. Da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, now he's for sure going to make them. Like,
they did not realize.
What? First off, Brian Shaw, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Who are you?
And Steve Smith, you're a fucking sophomore.
Yeah.
This is your second year in the league. And, like, he's doing a little shit talking because Steve Smith was a shit talker. And he would admit to this. And, like, what he didn't realize that he kind of put a mark on his back for the rest of his life. Like, if you Google Steve Smith, Michael Jordan stories, he tells a story where he guarded Michael one time, and Michael starts counting backwards from 50.
From 50, yeah. I think he told that story on the
open court.
On open court, yeah.
Yeah, and he goes 48, 46, and he's like, hold on a second.
What are you doing? What are you counting?
Hold on a second. And it's like, well, like, that's the thing, right? That's what makes him so good.
Yeah.
It's like with the did you watch the Sports Center afterwards where the George Karl?
Absolutely not. No.
Oh, as soon as I started George Karl, and it pisses me off that now I'm just always gonna listen to anything he says. Because he's allowed to say any dumbass thing. And mind you, his earphones look like this while he was in his interview. You got to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
This is how George Karl wears earphones.
Uh-huh.
This is it right here.
Yeah.
So
Maybe he has something. I can't think of a good joke, but go ahead.
So this is still an era where you went to college actually matters because you were there for years.
Yep.
Like in the 80s, you couldn't leave unless you were 3 years in, and you had to plead a case that if you stay another year and get hurt, you would lose so much money that the NCAA had to let you out. But most people play 4 years. Patrick Ewing, 4 years. Ralph Sampson, 4 years. Like guys who would have been number one draft picks if they would have left their first year.
Yep.
Played 4 years. You know, they mattered to them.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that George Karl went to North Carolina and played for Dean Smith mattered so much to Michael. In fact, a lot of what the beef with George Karl, with Jerry Krause, is that he constantly passed up North Carolina guys that Michael wanted, or wouldn't trade for guys like Walter Davis that Michael wanted because they played for North Carolina at some point. So the fact that George Karl and him were very good friends, before he started doing his old summer workouts, he would go back to North Carolina to work out. And a lot of North Carolina guys would do that too. Okay. Including George Karl, not necessarily to play, but to be there around players and stuff. And to walk past him in that restaurant and not say what's up. That's it. He's going to hate you for the rest of your fucking life.
Yeah.
Right?
Even though MJ probably would have done something like that, right? I mean.
No, but that's the thing, right? By that point, he knows.
Yeah.
None of you are threats anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to say what's up. We're going to go golf, Danny Ainge.
Yeah.
Because you can't fucking guard me anyway.
Yeah.
Right? He's not going to – now, but in the 80s, he's not golfing with fucking
That's true.
Larry.
Yeah.
He's not guarding with Isaiah. But by the 90s, everybody come on through. Bring your whole fucking squad. Yeah. Let me keep you all up till 2 o'clock in the morning like I'm up, and then I'm going to give y'all 50 because I ain't tired.
Yep. I'm going to work you.
But yeah, man, right? It's all a testament, right? It was all part of the long game. Everything about Jordan's life is part of the long game. And it's why like the whole Bill Simmons thing before we started recording pisses me off. Because like you can't see it, that a man this competitive, and you made the astute point yourself like fucking 10 pods ago. Yeah. Where it's not just about competing. He has to compete at the highest stakes possible. I'm going to get one try, you get 35. My one try is going to be better. Yep. By 93, his father's dead, and there is no more challenge. And not even just a challenge, the highest challenge. What Everest am I climbing this year? There was none.
Yeah, and he was exhausted. I do believe that too. He was fucking exhausted.
Absolutely.
And not just physically tired, you know what I mean? But mentally worn the fuck out, man. Like everywhere you go, this is even to the point about what we were saying just moments ago about him having these two, we all have two faces. You know what I mean? If you don't have two faces, then you're not doing it right because you're fucking like if you grew up in the projects and you didn't find the second face, you're never leaving the fucking projects. You know what I mean? Right. You need the second face. And we all have it. And MJ, but the problem is MJ operates more time, I think, in that face than he does in the other face. You know what I mean? And that can be fucking exhausting. Like that's gotta be fucking exhausting. You know what I mean? So
no, it's terrible. Yeah. But yeah, like all those amazing stories. They do the LaBradford Smith one. I've written and talked about the Alonzo Mourning one. Yeah. I mean, Lacey Banks, who was like one of the only black sports beat writers in Chicago. He's the guy that the ping pong story where Lacey beats him at ping pong. He fucking learns ping pong to be like a master ping pong player just to beat fucking Lacey Banks. Like it's just all that stuff. Like it's all feeding that need and all part of the long game, right? Yeah. Not only am I busting your ass, which makes me feel good, but now you're a sports writer. You're gonna write about this. Yeah. Right? And it just pushes my legacy to another stratosphere.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, again, we'll talk about it tomorrow. I don't see how, in any way, how this has made him look bad.
Right. We could talk about that tomorrow, but I do want to point out some things that like are just like sort of much smaller points.
Sure.
So when he was when they show the what you call it, the Barons,
Mm-hmm.
the AA team he played on. I don't know if you noticed while he's getting interviewed in his locker,
Mm-hmm.
his North Carolina shorts are like hanging there.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
So he wears them, right? He was famous for having his shorts a little bit baggier than most people because he wore his North Carolina shorts underneath
Really? I did not know that. Wow.
as good luck,
Mm.
right? Because that shot in North Carolina, he credits that like that's when Mike Jordan
Oh, yeah.
became Michael Jordan,
Michael. Yeah.
right? So a few years ago, not even a few years ago, like maybe 5 years ago, I'm going on one of my YouTube deep dives, following all these like old school interviews with athletes. Michael Jordan's on Arsenio Hall, and it's one of the first, probably is the first time he's on Arsenio Hall because he's not as charismatic. He's much more timid, allowing Arsenio to sort of steer the conversation. And there's a lot of questions that seem like it would have been Arsenio's first time talking to him. And he brings it to North Carolina shorts thing. He's like, is it true you wear them underneath your Chicago Bulls shorts? And Michael says, I'm wearing them right now. And he says, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, why? And he's like, hey, it just makes me feel more comfortable. Like, I feel like good things are going to happen when I have my North Carolina shorts on.
So he's the reason why we were wearing ball shorts under our jeans for so many fucking years. That's where it started.
Well, the thing is, like, I get
We've discovered it. Listen, we discovered it. Victor, this is momentous. Because I never understood why we were wearing basketball shorts under our pants.
Well, I did that because at any moment, I was always ready to hoop.
That's true.
That was me.
That's what. Yeah. Again, MJ. It's because of MJ. You were ready to hoop because you wanted to be like Mike.
Well, like, I mean, like, I would go to school.
I thought you were going to. Can I before I cut you off? Well, not before I cut you off. After I cut you off, and before you start talking again.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason you were going to say because these pants are liable to come off at any time. And I was like, this is the most cockiest shit I ever heard in my life. But go ahead, man. Do you? Anyway, go ahead.
Not when I was like 12, but I mean, like, for me, like, there was always another practice.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't have like all these stuff. My mom was gonna buy me a bag just for basketball shit.
We ain't know about TJ Maxx yet.
So yeah, I had to wear ball shorts underneath my uniform, and then in high school, like, everybody wore Dickies, which apparently people are doing again. But everybody wore, everybody wore like a Dickie suit that was like 2 sizes too big. So I would just wear my practice shit underneath my whatever I was wearing at school, and just take it off.
You could wear a suit of armor under those Dickie outfits. Let's just be real. Like, you could rock a whole suit of armor under them joints. Like, those were, people would show up, and I went to Doherty, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Well, not obviously, but I went to Doherty.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's obvious for people listening right now.
To me.
And I remember people would show up sometimes in the Dickie shirt, the button-down shirt, even in the two-tone one, the one that would be like blue down the middle and tan on, that was not part of the uniform.
No, for sure not. Yeah.
It was just not part of the uniform. I like the gall to someone to show up like that. You know what I mean? I was jealous of it. Honestly, I was jealous of it.
Well, I mean, if you wore like this sweater vest over it, nobody would even know, right?
I mean, you got blue here, and then, you know what I mean? You need the long sleeve joint. You know, you can't wear the vest. You get the vest, you're gonna have tan on the outside, blue on the inside. It's a party on the outside, formal on the inside. Don't make no fucking sense.
Well, I didn't go to a private school, so I didn't have to wear a uniform.
We don't call it private, man. We don't call it private. You're doing too much for private. It's Catholic. It's a public Catholic school. Is what it was.
Public Catholic school. Okay.
Yeah,
so anyway,
public Catholic school.
But anyway, more back to the thing is, I just thought it was like so appropriate to see those shorts like center view right over his shoulder as he's getting interviewed, because that probably would have been one of the only things that was normal for him.
Yeah.
Is having those shorts underneath his baseball uniform. And what I was going to say is that I know that the Fab Five always gets credit for baggy shorts, but it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I was born in 91. I wasn't really old enough to like recognize it in real time. You're a little older. I feel like you guys would have a better remember of this, but like, I don't think I'd give a fuck what Jalen Rose was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I definitely knew Michael Jordan wore
For sure.
baggier shorts than Magic Johnson.
Yeah. I think what it was, so I think what I would say is, maybe there's a weird world here where it's like MJ was definitely wearing baggy shorts first, but the Michigan kids normalized it. You know what I mean? The Fab Five normalizes it because it's like, even Scrubs can wear it. Look at this asshole. He's calling timeout. We don't got no more. He got the baggy ass shorts, so I could fuck up and wear baggy shorts. I don't have to carry this excellence like MJ. You know what I mean? And I can still wear baggy shorts.
I think the difference is that their shorts were so much more baggier.
Yeah.
But I'm giving credit to Michael for the shorts, though.
Yeah, and but it's also the mixture of hip hop. It's all of it. It's all of it happens at the right time. I think that trends like that, aside from maybe the Yankee cap, which is like a clear Jay-Z thing, like there are trends like that we attribute to somebody because we need to. This dude, instead of having a mask on, hold on, there's a guy walking outside, and instead of a mask, he's wearing a hoodie backwards. He's wearing a hoodie backwards.
Well, like all the way over his face, or like
no, not always. Just here, just up to here. But because I'm like, man, he's just a funnel to his chest. Oh man, hey, I should applaud for him. When trends like this happen, we try to find the signpost to assign it to. Yeah, we say this is where it came from. But people have been said like people will say, oh, but anytime people bring up, especially people who know college, like you know this. Anyone brings up Fab Five? No, it's not the Fab Five. We should be talking about UNLV.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's always going to be that. I don't think anyone knows. Like I said,
Johnson team.
Correct. And Larry Johnson really, because not to get into too much of it, but if you're talking hip hop and like you're talking that real shit, like Larry Johnson with the gold tooth is Mobb Deep to Chris Webber's like LL Cool J love song version. You know what I mean? Like it's the truth. Like that UNLV, that's what the UNLV team represented, whereas Michigan State was like this clean cut, whatever the fuck. And meanwhile, Michigan talking shit about Grant Hill's blackness, and the UNLV Rebel Raiders are like, "Who the fuck is you talking about?" You know what I mean?
Facts,
It's a dumbass Chris Webber. I'm sorry, I don't mean this shit. I don't mean to shit on Chris Webber like this. But he is the easiest target. Honestly, he has the fattest target on his face.
It's because he's still so insecure about himself so much.
100%, and because he's a terrible fucking commentator. He's the worst colored dude.
Bad at commentator.
Like if we listen, man, we could rank these right now, and he is at the bottom somewhere. Yeah. He's near the bottom. Richard Jefferson is moving up to the top, except that he came down a little bit for what he said about Tim Duncan. But like Weber's down here. But Reggie is in the middle somewhere.
Like I don't think Jefferson's a good color commentator. I just think he's Jalen. He's better at he's Jalen Rose.
I feel like he does a good job when he's calling games.
Okay, well maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but my standard is incredibly high. Like I need guys who are gonna go in and win, like be coach of the year, telling me about the game.
Yeah, I miss Steve Kerr. I miss Doug.
Yeah, he's by far the best.
Yeah, I miss them. I like Brent Barry too. You know what I mean?
Brent Barry's solid. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Brent.
But the other thing that I wanted to mention, was the Warner Brothers Studios pickup games.
Yeah.
Right? As kind of being like the forefather of the Rico Hines games, like that we can all watch now.
Yeah.
Like those games are full games on YouTube.
Yep.
And they have multiple games going on at once at Rico Hines.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever that other secret gym, that super dark gym, I don't know. It's somewhere in LA, but that doesn't have like a name. Rico Hines is on UCLA.
Yeah, they also play it. There's also the Lifetime Fitness games too that they always play at. That's where Hoodie Mello, made his waves.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a Lifetime Fitness.
Okay, so then that's the other gym I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah, it's Lifetime Fitness. Yeah, it's Lifetime Fitness.
So those games must have been incredible because instead of having like these like. I don't care. I'm gonna say it. Instead of having like these like buddy soft guys getting mad when you fucking double team them, you're gonna have Michael being like this fucking Game 7 out there, setting the tone for everybody. And those games would have been incredible to watch. So I've seen people criticize the doc as saying like, why didn't they just run 5 minutes of that?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is what I've learned since then is that what they showed is the only footage that exists.
I gotcha.
But I also want to say that this is not like all this footage I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not all of it. I want to say maybe like 40% of what they're showing I've seen before.
Yep.
And like when I was in middle school, I went to FYE and I bought this DVD collection called the Ultimate Jordan Collection.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And a lot of this stuff is on there.
Mm-hmm.
The Warner Brother game footage that we just saw is on one of those things. It's like 5 different Jordan documentaries and 4 of his best games, full games.
Mm-hmm.
So like all these 90s and these games I've been watching since I was a little kid. So a lot of this footage is recycled.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really surprised to see that like so many of these like prominent sports journalist figures have no idea, had like kind of knew about it, never seen it. Like Zach Lowe was talking to Jay Adande. And because Jay Adande wrote a piece apparently about the Warner Brothers studio games not too long ago. And he was like, did people even know about this in the 90s? And I'm like, yes, you stupid ass. Everyone knew. Yeah. Everybody knew it. And everybody wanted to get invited to these games.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
It was not a secret.
Yeah. Like you said, it's the original Rico Hines or even the Seattle the Pro-Am. Yeah, the Seattle Pro-Ams that they like doing.
Yeah.
Who's the most random player that you saw there? I think you know exactly who I'm going to say, but who did you think was the most random player?
Well, honestly, I don't know. Were you going to say Juwan Howard?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I was cool, Juwan.
I want to go back and look at it again.
What the fuck was Sean Bradley doing there? You're telling me Sean Bradley is cool with like? Listen,
this is the thing. You got to remember though, Sean Bradley's in the movie.
Oh, you're right. That's a good point. I'm sorry.
All the guys in the movie are gonna play.
You're right. But I just, you know what? It's not that Sean Bradley was there. It's that he said, but we have all the guys. We have Jawan's there, Sean Bradley's there. And I was like, don't say Sean Bradley's name. Don't say his fucking name. We know who he is.
Yeah, no.
But also, I want to point out that did you peep the Clarence Fat Face Witherspoon appearance? There was a little, they showed a clip of MJ at one point, while they were doing like one of the montages. And Clarence Witherspoon was reaching on MJ. It might have not been MJ. It might have been Scotty, but we saw Clarence Witherspoon in the documentary. So Clarence is still out there somewhere.
Yeah, but all the guys in the film obviously were going to play in the games. But there's actually some players that I didn't recognize in the few seconds they were on the screen. So I kind of want to go back and look at it. I'm going to have to find out which of the documentaries that I own, which one of them that footage is on, and like just to like slow it down or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wish though they would have, or I'm sure even Michael didn't want that because I know that he for sure lost some of those games. And I don't think he wanted that on tape.
Yeah.
But I wish they would have. At least if they were even doing like shooting contests. Like if they played horse or something.
Yeah.
Like at least record that. Like that would have been awesome to like randomly come across that on YouTube or something.
Yeah. I agree with you. A lot of this to me hasn't been super surprising. I think some of the shit talking stuff I can't say I've ever seen. Some of like the back like locker room stuff. The clip of him smoking a cigar in the back, I want to say I've seen that, but I can't place it. I don't remember if I saw that clip before. Which is, him at his. So you know what? Actually, this is gonna bring me to a real quick point that I want to make too, because Michael Wilbon, I don't know if you peeped, he made this little video for ESPN on Twitter talking about Len Bias, saying that how MJ was essentially MJ was lacking he was lacking his yang. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The yang to his yang, and how Larry has has Magic, and you could say LeBron had D Wade and Kobe. It had a couple guys. A couple guys that were facing him, but MJ never gets that, and he's musing whether Len Bias would have been it. You know, Len Bias should have been it. I haven't watched enough Len Bias to really say for sure whether that's true or not. You know what I mean? But I find it interesting. You know, he was 6'8", would have went to the Celtics, would have, you know, in all accounts, would have kept the Celtics essentially competitive after Larry was gone. You know what I mean? So who knows what would have happened there. But I do find that interesting. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've actually heard that point made a lot of times with the whole, like, there was no rival. That was the missing piece, was the guy who could challenge him. But the thing is, I just think that's a nitpick in the wrong direction. Ryan Russillo said this yesterday or today, one of those days, where he thinks, like, when people will criticize Tiger in his prime and be like, well, you know, we've never seen Tiger be down and come back. And it's like, yeah, but isn't that because he's so good he never has to?
Correct.
Right? And I think ultimately that's what it comes down to. Like, there was no rival because that's how much better he was.
He was, yeah. I mean, Clyde was his rival for a year.
Yeah, I mean, again, there was a bunch of guys for a little bit, right? It was Chuck for 93. It was Magic in 91, right? There's all these guys that are like for a second.
Yeah. Look, you know
what? But then they're not.
To this point, there has never been anything that's existed that didn't have a what if on the other side of it.
Right.
That's the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean? People will pick apart Breaking Bad, even though to me it's like perfect. It's a perfect show. It ends perfectly, but you can pick it apart. There's always going to be the what if. So you're always going to look and hang on to what ifs to say, but what if this happened? It's like, nah, man, you know what if Len Bias would have lived is more about Len Bias than it is. It should have always been more about Len Bias than MJ. I find it interesting that they bring them up together because I used to never link them together. I used to just say, man, what if Len Bias would have lived? Because it's Len Bias, and there was this possibility that he could have been one of the greats. Or, you know, what if Grant Hill doesn't get injured? I never think about what if Grant Hill doesn't get injured in terms of what happens to Kobe Bryant's career. Just what if Grant Hill doesn't get injured? So, like you said, I agree. MJ just was going to dispatch the rival because he was MJ. It just doesn't fucking matter. And what happens to Len Bias? This is not to judge Len Bias, or I don't want to be, because this could come off cringy, and that's not my intent here. What happens to Len Bias couldn't have happened to MJ. You know what I mean? Because of all the things we see. You know what I mean? What Len Bias goes out and does that night was not in MJ's DNA to do. So right there is a flaw that MJ already has a leg up on. And I'm just talking about it in the most basic, generalist of terms. I don't want to talk about specifics, but just the once a party did not exist in MJ. You know what I mean? Boom, leg up already. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
So you know what I mean? Well, was there anything else you wanted to touch base on? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, like I talked about before we started with, it keeps coming back around. So I think what is happening in the sports journalist world is that they are subconsciously apologizing for not appreciating Scottie as much as they feel like they should have been during the time, and particularly with Michael Wilbon, because he was very harsh on him. And honestly, I think he deserves the criticism he got for not coming back into that game. Like, the comparison or the scenario in which they say, well, what if it was Michael not getting the last shot? The problem with that is that he's fucking Michael Jordan. Okay, so let's stop there. Yeah. Because although they do make it to the Eastern Conference Final the following year, the year after that, they're barely 500.
Correct.
So we can stop this. He went from scoring like 15, 16 a game with Michael to 18, 19 without Michael a game. So so it's over, right?
Yeah.
I do, though, understand him being upset that it was a rookie getting a shot over him.
Okay.
That I can understand, right? I do love, though, that when they cut to Tony talking about it, he goes, you know, well, I did make a lot of last second shots.
I don't know what the fuck is problem.
Just a matter of fact, I did do that. So I guess it could make sense that I'm the one doing it because I actually do it.
I'm a good shooter.
Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that you go out there and then you tell Phil Jackson about himself afterwards.
Correct.
But you don't take yourself out the game. And he says, I wish it would never happen, but I would still do it. I don't understand what those two sentences mean, because they cancel each other out.
Correct. It's almost an oxymoron.
If you're gonna say them right after each other, but it's fine. We're gonna give him a pass now, I guess, because we were too hard on him in the moment. Whatever. And again, they keep bringing up this thing. They said it I think Phil said it in episode 2 or 3, whatever one was about Scotty, probably episode 2, where he says Scotty was like the second best player in the league. No.
Nope.
And then Jackie McMullen says it last night, where she goes, she was probably the third or fourth best player in the league. No. During the time of the shot, right? So, okay, cool. So I want to say this. Just because you finish in the top 5 in MVP voting for a season does not make you a top 5 player for that era.
Correct.
If you would have argued he was the 5th-ish best player of that era, okay, we can have a conversation. But he was never the 3rd player of the 90s.
Never. No, unless all the centers disappeared that existed in the 90s that were great.
Correct. So I listed a bunch of guys. So like Barkley, Ewing, Hakeem, Malone. You can throw David Robinson in there. You could throw Shaq in there. Like, by that point, Shaq was still very young and hadn't proven a lot. But he beat Scotty and Michael in the fucking playoffs.
Yep.
So I'm taking all those guys as my number one option over
correct.
Scotty.
If we got deeper, that's what she said. I'm sure we could find. Look, man, it's maddening how people forget how much relationships mean in team sports. And Scotty finally said it last night. I couldn't have done this without him.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, okay, let's. You know what? I don't even need to get into that. We've done that. He was never the second best player. I never ever. No second best player in the NBA would ever be known as Robin. Even when Dwayne Wade and LeBron were together, nobody. There was confusion constantly about whose team it was. You know what I mean? There was never that confusion.
Right.
With
why
MJ.
they lost. Was part of the reason they lost the 2011 finals.
Correct.
Part of the reason why it only lasted the 4 years it did.
Yep.
Part of the reason why they got fucking pimp slapped in my Stephen A. Smith voice against the Spurs in 2014 for that whole fucking series.
Yep.
Which I want to revisit at the very end of this series. Yeah. But what I did was in the 94 All-Star team, I went down and looked at the whole team, right? And it's like, nah, there's a bunch of dudes here, and I just named them all that I would have taken over him, right? Yep. You're taking Barkley. You're gonna take Ewing. You might take Shaq. You probably would take David Robinson. Like Scotty, you're definitely taking Hakeem Olajuwon. Like Hakeem Olajuwon's first on that list.
Correct.
Right? And is Scotty the second greatest player? Or is Scotty the greatest second best player? Probably. Right? If you say that definitively, I'm cool with that. Could I make arguments for other guys? Like depending on how you feel about D Wade, depending on how you feel about KD.
Late 90s Kobe.
Kobe,
early
depending
2000,
really early 2000s Kobe.
Yeah, early 2000s.
Depending how you feel about whoever you think was second fiddle between Steph and KD, David Robinson with Tim Duncan. But if you want to say Scotty, because Scotty was always the second best player versus those other guys kind of being the best player at some point, then fine. I'm cool with that. But was he a top 3? Was he the second best player? No. No, and we have to fucking stop it. Like, as great as he was as a facilitator on offense, he was never a guy that can go out and get you all those 40-point, 50-point games that Michael or a lot of these other guys could do.
Well, and to your credit, that the point that you made 2 weeks ago, Horace Grant also takes a step up when MJ goes. Just more shots going around. So you get Horace playing better. Tony's now here, and you get Scotty. So, yeah, they're good. Then Horace leaves, and they take another step back. So, yeah, it's a lot to lose. Right. You know what I mean? And no, I can't think of a sports player ever that has ever voluntarily come out of a game. Like how many players voluntarily come out of a game? All they want to do is play. And to come out of a game in the playoffs. Now, so there was a, thank God for Twitter sometimes, because Twitter did, some guy cut a video of that game, went to the possession before, where one of the reasons why Phil calls this shot for Tony is because the possession before they have a chance, and Scotty takes a horrid shot. He just dribbles up, takes a fucking like a long two that just clanks off the right side of the rim. Scotty then gets pissed off at Tony because Tony's in the corner, and Tony's not sure what to do. I mean, European basketball player, he wants to move. He tries to come up, kind of crowds the lane, and then goes back to the corner, and Scotty gets pissed off at him. And that's the end. That's the end of that. They were also up in this game 23 points in the third quarter. Before the last shot, before this even comes down to this, they give up this lead. This is the great Scottie Pippen, everyone. Who again, this documentary has done a fantastic job of making Scotty look shitty, and I've been saying that since last week. So yeah, this whole misconception is whatever, man. Scotty was great. No one's taking that away from him, but people should relax. But this is what happens, you know what I mean? When people want to fit a narrative. People want to believe that LeBron is greater or as great as Michael, which is fine. You can believe that if you want. I don't have a problem with it, but this is not the argument that you're going to make to get there. It's just not. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. It's just not. And we're learning why. Every day in the documentary, we learn that. We learn exactly why that is, because the weird subtweeting and that's not the way a leader works. You know what I mean? So, not to say that MJ's way is the right way either, but obviously, he's forging these guys in this fire that's either you're gonna sink or you're gonna swim, and if you swim, we win. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the year Michael, and the fucking like month Michael comes back in '95, they beat a team that was a higher seed than them.
Correct.
In the playoffs.
Correct. And one argument that I would even make, this might be a little sacrilegious though, so you're not going to necessarily agree with this right off the bat.
Okay.
But I could make the argument that you would take Prime Penny over Scotty. Prime Penny. You know what I mean?
So I think if Penny lives up to his talent, then I think he's a better all-around player. Right? I still think Scotty is a much better defender.
Yep.
Just because of his length and physicality.
Yeah.
He doesn't get credit for how much the physicality that he really develops over the first half of his career, because he was not that. Clearly with Charles Oakley slapping his ass around. But he's a guy that you can run your offense through, but also still get you 20-some points a game.
Yep.
Where Scotty was never going to be, is going to be that 20-some point scorer.
Yep, correct. Yeah, he wasn't going to be that.
But I think I think if he lived up to his potential, if he becomes who we thought he was going to become, then I think there's an argument to be made. But for what he provided,
correct.
So to be everything that Michael didn't have to be all those other things all the time.
Correct.
To be the shutdown defender so that Michael didn't have to be the shutdown defender all the time. To be the facilitator so that Michael could just focus on scoring.
Yep.
To be the second best rebounder so that Michael could leak out on fast breaks and stuff.
Yep.
All of that stuff is why those two guys, like if you're rebuilding it with anybody, you're still putting Scotty next to him.
Yeah. MJ forges Scotty into what he needs him to be. Essentially, he makes him what he needs him to be. The basketball god makes him in his image. You know what I mean? To get a little sacrilege. Listen, I'm all about the sacrilege on this podcast.
Scotty was willing to play that role and then also become probably the best to be that.
Yeah, and then he got too big for his britches. And look, I completely do understand the feeling you deserve the last shot. Although I am not built that way. You know what I mean? Because I'm very honest about my shortcomings. Okay, I know the things I do well and I don't do well. And what we're saying is, hey, Scotty, you're like the best facilitator here. You're a great passer. We want you to make the right pass here. and let's draw this up for Tony because he can shoot his ass off. Let's win the fucking game.
Yeah.
And the players, like, to me, this is why Timmy is my favorite player. You would never hear this conversation from Tim. It's just not a thing that exists because you're talking about dudes who's going to do anything to win. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're going to do any fucking thing to win. And MJ, the difference between MJ and everyone else is MJ's going to do everything to win, but because he's so fucking great, he could win in his image. You know what I mean? The way he wants to do it. There's like that one quote that he says that's like, damn, what is it that he's shit? What is it? It's escaping me right now. But it's something along the lines of like, about taking the last shot. Damn, I can't even remember it. I can't remember the premise of it right now. But essentially, just saying he's so fucking great.
Good old fashioned choke, my boy.
He was gonna win. I know what I'm good and bad at. No, but it was essentially about how. See, now you made me forget. I had it. You just made me forget that shit. That he was gonna do whatever it took to win, as long as it was in. Well, it's what we say about Kobe. He's gonna do what it takes to win, as long as it's him winning. You feel me? As long as it's him doing the winning. Right. And the difference is MJ was great enough to always come through. You know what I mean?
Sure. But then Michael, but there was never a scenario in which it made sense to give anyone else a shot.
Correct.
And that's
exactly
why
right.
that's why it's okay.
Yeah,
correct. For Michael.
Correct.
But imagine any other great facilitator being upset about that. Like, I can't even imagine, like, if, I don't know, in some scenario, if Steve Nash, if Steve Nash in his apex prime somehow would have played with Dirk again, and the place for Dirk, and Steve is the passer, he's gonna be like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
If Jason Kidd, how many, and this has happened where Jason Kidd has been the inbounder to the game-winning shot.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure there are Steve Nash clips without Dirk on the team, right? With the motley crew that he played with, all right? Of him inbounding for the game. Why? Because you're a fucking fantastic passer.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is like a thing, too.
The compliment in its own right.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Whatever. Listen, but hey, everybody live your best life. Think Scotty's the greatest. No problem. That's why y'all out here thinking LeBron the greatest. And y'all subtweeting your ex. All right, for no fucking reason. Hey, I'm just saying. Shout out to LeBron, though. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's very, very good. Yes.
He's He's great. He's great. You don't have to say very good. He's great. He's great. He's not the greatest.
He's the second greatest.
Maybe 1B. You know what I mean? Either way is fine.
Or which means 2. But yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, was there anything else? I think we're good there. I can't think of anything I wanted to cover. Was there? Wait. Oh, I'm lying. One last thing.
I think I have something too. Another rant for you.
You son of a bitch. Okay. Well, let me just get this off real quick.
Okay. Go ahead.
The Bulls that year, the 72-10 year.
Yeah.
Because no one ever brings this up, the playoff records and stuff like that. Which is weird to me. The Bulls finished. Yeah. But fuck, we're not,
Yeah, fuck.
The Bulls finished 87-13.
Yep.
That year. All right. Which is by far the best mark. The Celtics, 85-86 Celtics, 82-18. The 86-87 Lakers finished 80-20. The 2000-2001 Lakers, the ones that everyone, but this is just recency bias, the ones that everyone picks to beat them, 72-27, not close. Now not to be an asshole, we know the story behind Shaq essentially playing himself into shape all year, not giving a shit. And
that's part of it, though.
Yeah, it is for sure. Exactly right. Yeah. To maintain the level of focus and intensity that it took,
commitment.
To get to 87-13, that matters.
Yep.
The only other team that I think has a chance is the Warriors. 15-16, I think it is. They go 83-16. Right. That's KD's first year. What's interesting about all of these, if you look these up, except for the Lakers and Warriors, well, I guess it's just the Celtics and Lakers, they all have the exact same playoff run, pretty much. They sweep the first round, lose one game in the second round, and then lose 2 games in the finals, and that's it. All of them do it the same way, pretty much. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. That's the greatest. That Bulls team is the greatest team of all time. I don't give a fuck what you say. You could
Yeah.
argue this Warriors team is the only team I'm willing to argue about, truthfully, because they have the defenders and length to really make it a problem. You know what I mean? So,
and the incredible shooting.
yeah, the shooting.
And then that kind of leads me to what I was going to talk about, though, because
That's greatness right here.
So
You're
many.
the greatest number 2 ever. How about that?
I'll take it. I'll take it. Because so many people credit that to this idea that the league was a worse league in the mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That they were able to do that at that record because of there was missing talent because of like the Len biases of the world, but then also because of the expansion, right? Adding extra teams and then players having to fill those rosters instead of being on another team, which I get. But it's starting to get out of hand. Like it went from going to being a good point to now making the mid 90s kind of seem like it's the fucking minor leagues.
Yeah.
And it absolutely was not.
Correct.
It absolutely was not.
Yeah.
Like those Jazz teams, they get shit on a lot now. They went to back-to-back finals. That's no matter what era you play in, that is hard to do, right? But they're actually like a much more modern team.
Correct.
Like of a lot of 90s teams, they're actually one of the few that could compete in the modern era.
Correct.
They had, at least for the 90s, they had a lot of shooting. And Karl Malone was also a guy that could stretch the floor.
Yep.
A lot of his damage came from that 15 to 18-foot range. If he played in 2020, he'd be shooting threes.
Yep.
And then you had guys like Greg Ostertag, who was just going to set screens, roll to the rim.
You love Greg, man. You love Greg.
I mean, Greg Ostertag, you had Antoine Carr on those teams that would randomly get in and score like 10 points in 5 minutes and then won't play for another 5 games or something. But Howard Isley, like, what's his name? His last name was Anderson. It's not Kenny. Was it Ronnie? I don't know. Just a lot of like really quick athletic guards, get to the basket, good jump. Like, why is that team getting shitted on?
Yeah, because people are ignorant. They're also a transcendent point guard who could defend very, very, very well and could shoot. You know what I mean? Which is like a thing you need in today's NBA. Jeff Hornacek, also another famed shooter. I mean, they had a lot of guys. You know what I mean? But the one thing too, you can say what you want about these Warriors teams or the Heat teams, but when you consolidate power, just because D Wade and LeBron are in the league at the same time doesn't mean the league is better if they're playing together.
Correct. Exactly right.
You consolidated power. The league got weaker. Right. That's what happens. Exactly. When KD leaves the Thunder, well, you just took the powerhouse, another powerhouse out the West, and consolidated it into one team. And now the West has become weaker. That's what happens. You know what I mean? And then, even to not to cut you off, but to go further. Because this is people don't think about basketball. People are fucking stupid. They don't think about fucking basketball this way.
Correct.
When KD went to the Warriors, everyone in the league went one of two directions. Some went on an arms race, a la the Rockets.
Right.
The rest of the league said "fuck it" and punted.
Right. Right. So many teams openly tanking.
The others, fuck it. We got nothing for this shit. All right, guys who were on 2-week injuries, gone for 2 months. Guys on 2 months injuries, gone for the year. That's what happened. So you want to say that the league, because John Wall and Bradley Beal, these guys are in the league, but no one's playing because they see a powerhouse and they don't want to fucking play it. So guess what? The 72-10 Bulls would have played that season and would have had one team to beat. That was the Warriors. And so they would have went 80-2, and that's the fucking end of it. maybe 81-1. Maybe they split the series. Who knows?
No, but that is the absolute point where it's like when they talk about these modern teams as like, well, LeBron's been to how many finals in a row? How many of these finals has he constructed himself and stacked the deck? And I don't want to talk about the whole LeBron Michael thing. I want us to do a whole thing about that conversation and end it once the doc is over, and then we can just Anytime somebody needs to talk about it, we can just point them to the
Refer 'em to the
podcast.
pod, yeah.
Well, just listen here. It's all spelled out, but
Yeah.
it's not the same.
No.
It's not the same when you're playing GM, when you get to give yourself 2-week vacations, when you're getting your homies signed, and then a jumping ship when you don't feel like playing with them anymore. Like, it's all of that is not the same. I get it is incredible that one man can play that many games and that many minutes for that long. It's all great. But when you're comparing, when you're trying to make the case for the best, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Right? If you're the Warriors, you play 5 straight finals, but you took the second, third best player in the league and added him to your team when you were already the best team. How was that the same?
It's never. There's just no. You can't look at the league and say that this league was weak and then look at LeBron's run to all of these finals, these teams that he played against, and act like these are the cream of the crop. That fucking Raptors team, that fucking Hawks team. Remember the Hawks team that went like 66 games or 65? Remember that? That fucking team is trash. Yeah. Headlined by dumb Al fucking Horford over here. All right?
Always.
It always comes back to Al.
Always.
Al Horford, the best player on their team. Oh, I'm sorry. When did Al Horford turn into Patrick Ewing? I don't remember that conversation. When did LeBron face a Magic? Oh, that's right. He did face the Magic. My bad. It was the one with Dwight fucking Howard instead of the one with Shaq, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. And I guess fucking what's his face morphed into Penny Anderson.
He beat him.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You're not gonna. You can't. And I don't want to. Again, I don't want to do it either.
Dwight beat him.
The argument about the league competition, blah, 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 the middle 2000s in the NBA is
not good.
Is a desert. It's deserted.
It's not, and all the proof of it is go look at those drafts.
Correct. Yeah, look at the draft. Correct. Look at the mid 2000s until the Steph draft. It's really the Steph draft that replenishes the assets. Because before that, you get a KD here, you get a Russ sprinkled in, a Kevin Love, whatever. He's over there a little bit, and then boom, Steph, James Harden, all these guys coming together, and now we got something. Blake Griffin, and now we got something going on.
Yeah.
But mid 2000s, the fact that LeBron only goes to one finals in the 2000s is fucking embarrassing.
Right. And that's the thing is like, it's and I don't think this is stepping on anything, but part of the reason why I would never stop giving LeBron shit for teaming up with what should have been his biggest competition.
His rival, yeah.
Is that he's too good.
Yeah.
To eventually not win. It's just, he couldn't handle with what Michael could.
Yeah.
Couldn't take the nonstop criticism. It broke him rather than making him stronger. And then once he realized how good he could actually be, now I can go back to Cleveland, play with Kyrie, who is not in any way Dwayne Wade, who can play with Kevin Love, who is not in any way Chris Bosh, and win again. But that was going to happen.
Correct.
And I don't care if you leave, play with any fucking team you want, but you don't have to handpick your teammates and make them the best players in the league.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sorry.
No, in fact, the only way that we know that you're better is if you beat them.
Correct.
And that's really what it comes down to. And my generation of fan that loves players more than they love a team. That learn how to play basketball from 2K than fucking going to the park and getting their ass busted by somebody older and bigger than them.
Yeah.
Right. They can't understand this logic.
That's true. Yeah.
They can't, because for them it's all about, well, of course he's better. Why? In what way? What the fuck has he done yet to prove that he was better? Wade already had a ring.
And to this point, because let me bring this back real quick to Scotty. The argument that, well, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Even when you provide that as an argument, right? My argument to that, which fans can't understand, because they look at the NBA, they look at the season as like that every game is a series of accomplishments. And I'm not saying that it isn't, right? But the end of the line, it's not the same, right? So if you lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, that is not a trophy. Okay, the reason they lost in the gauntlet, that's what that is. The playoffs are the gauntlet in the NBA. The reason why they lost without being champions is because they missed the champion. They didn't have the fucking champion to win. You know what I mean? That is the point. You want to use that argument? Go right ahead. The point is that you don't have the champion to win. That's why they lost. Scottie wasn't a champion without Michael. Michael is the champion. That's it. You know what I mean? And I don't give a fuck. You know what? I'm going to go get sacrilegious. They would have won without Scottie. Replace Scottie with a replacement level player. I don't give a shit. They would have won. Michael would have turned him into Scottie somehow. That's it.
But the thing
Tony Kukoc would have been first team all defense.
Well,
And that's it.
It's much more likely that they win with someone other than Scottie than without
Correct.
Michael. But the thing is, to your point, every achievement is not an equal level of
Correct.
achievement.
Correct.
Right? Getting over that hump, they're not all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Some mountains are taller than others.
Correct.
Getting to these conference finals is hard. Winning it is much, much harder.
Correct.
Winning the finals is even exponentially more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Like, they're not all the same. One playoff round away is not close.
Correct.
That's not close. That means you don't exist in the same galaxy as the team you lost to.
Correct. And it's because, again, they say, well, but you won out of all of the 90 games before. You won so many games. That doesn't mean shit. That don't mean nothing. Those 90 games were not as hard as these 4 that you got to win. Because
Right.
this is going to be the teeth pulling here.
It's that argument that, and this is what I don't like about sports writers who always come as the approach as fans. And I get it. That's what they know. But the thing is, once you understand the game and on a higher level, kind of, or just a different perspective, I guess. But to me, it is a higher level. It's they lost the game, but it really wasn't as bad of a loss as you think. And you're like, no. No, it was.
Yeah, correct.
Because if it wasn't, they wouldn't have lost.
It would
And
have been a W.
sometimes it's not. Sometimes it isn't that simple, but a lot of times it is. It's when a team loses by 10 points and you're on paper, it's oh, well, they didn't play their best game. That's all they had to give that fucking day. And that's all you can assess it as.
Correct.
They're human beings. They're going to be tired. They're not going to be as good, or vice versa sometimes. You can't evaluate this as as them going to be at their best performance, or this is not going to be. The big thing is when a lot of, I think in particular with like Bill Simmons, when he talked about the difference between the Warriors and the Rockets. It's oh, well, those games weren't as. No, they fucking beat them. They fucking beat them.
Correct.
They had a series. They played each other over and over again, and they lost. And then the next year they play them without KD, right? And they still beat them.
Correct.
In that series.
Correct.
And then eventually everyone had to be oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
Now nobody wants to talk about how it wasn't really that bad. They're actually closer than you think.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
You tried it all.
And because because sports is so different, and people, unless you played sports or unless you had to have really been watching to understand what it's like to tear someone's heart out, because that's essentially what Steph's Warriors did to the Rockets. It's what they did to the Blazers. This is why I've been making the Steph Dame comparison, the Steph and Dame to MJ Clyde, because at this point the Blazers just get embarrassed every time they see the Warriors, and it's because of Steph. This is what it's like when a player rips somebody else's heart out. You know what I mean? This is what MJ held over the entire league. This is not what LeBron holds over anyone in the league. No one sees LeBron that way. No one ever has. I don't remember ever a team going up against LeBron and saying, fuck, man, this guy. Now, I'm sure they were saying it because, one of the fucking greatest players ever. Yes. But they felt like they could get one on him. You know what I mean? That's always been my point. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The way Paul Pierce feels about LeBron, to this very day, nobody feels about Jordan.
Correct.
And I actually have a really good Paul Pierce story.
Oh, yeah, my man.
So this is 1999 or 2000. So this is right after Michael leaves, right? So again, this is the second time he retired. People they have not closed the door on him coming back. Paul Pierce starts yapping up with Michael, right? And now I'm blanking on who the Celtics coach was at the time.
Rick Pitino. No, Rick Pitino was not the coach anymore, was he?
No, I think it was. Fuck. I think he was the guy that eventually became our coach. But anyway, I mean the Sixers coach. Whatever. The point being is, him and Mike are in the same place. They start talking, and he goes, "Oh, it's too bad you're not in the league anymore." Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
His coach walks over to him, pulls him away, and says, "Don't talk to him. Don't get him started."
Yep.
The last thing that they wanted was for him to come back just to bust the Celtics' ass.
Yep.
Because he would have done it, and even if he couldn't have, they believed that he would. Nobody feels that about LeBron.
And this will be my last point because this is now running forever. We could do this for the next 3 days straight.
Yeah.
Not like I've showered in 3 days. I can go another 3 days without showering. I'm joking. I shower daily, at least twice a day.
You gotta cut that.
Even though my hair is so unkempt right now, who even gives a fuck? The other argument people like to use, guess what, man? When MJ came back on the Wizards, he was still good as shit. I don't give a shit. He wasn't MJ anymore. Sure, he wasn't. But guess what? He was better than Jerry Stackhouse. And Jerry Stackhouse was mad because he felt like he should have been taken. Guess what, Jerry? Fight me if you want. You'll beat the shit out of me, but I'll never agree with you. MJ was still better than you at this point in his fucking career. MJ was the greatest old player ever. He had essentially accomplished everything he needed to accomplish at that point. I'm going to put this topping on the fucking, I'm going to put this cherry on top and end a career like this. MJ's the GOAT, and that's the end of it. You know what? It took like 50 episodes for this to happen, so I'm glad it did. You know what I mean? Eventually it was going to happen. We didn't have one where we just really went in on it. You know what I mean? So like, I'm glad we did that. That was cathartic, as they say.
Yeah, I think this is more of what you want.
Yeah, but maybe I don't know. The thing is, I don't want to make everything because everything could be LeBron versus MJ, and I don't want to do that.
I didn't mean that. I just meant the conversation.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Versus like you being a host.
Yeah, I hate being a host. I hate hosting. I don't even like Hostess pastries that much.
Yeah,
that's not true.
You know what I think would be I didn't catch it at first. I actually think Chris would be a good host.
Chris would be an excellent host
because he doesn't always. He's not someone that needs to be talking.
Yeah, he loves asking questions.
Exactly. Chris likes to pose something. He definitely will give his 2 cents, but then we'll wait and to react to other people.
For sure.
And that is what a good host does.
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying I'm a bad host? Is what you're trying to say?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
I feel like when I do host, I do a good job. I just don't want to fucking host.
Well, no, but when you host, you have to be both.
Correct.
Persons. You have to be the whatever the fuck I'm trying to say, the guest as well as being the host.
Correct. Yeah, I'm being a guest and a host, yeah.
Because you want to get, so basically when you're hosting, you have to sacrifice some of your opinion.
Correct.
You're not going to get the same kind of airtime as the people there because you're the host. You're on every fucking episode.
Yep.
Right. This is more about bringing in someone else and adding a different flavor basically to the show. Right. Conan O'Brien isn't talking for 45 minutes. Right.
Correct.
It's everybody else. But that's not what this is.
Nope.
Right.
Nope. I am the talent, and I need to be talking. I'm joking.
But that's why it's hard with 3 people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. No, I don't disagree. But I think that with us 3, it takes practice, and I think we're getting better. You know what I mean? We're getting better, and the banter, you can't replace some of the banter. Is perfect. You know
no. Exactly. And we're really, and when you look at it as really filming 2 episodes at once.
Yep.
It makes more sense.
Split it up into 2, and now we're not, you know what I mean, trying to get to anything.
I'm coming up though with a list of things of why LeBron can never be Michael. Like I have it all in my head, but I'm just slowly putting it down because once it's all over, I just want us to have like our culminating
we'll have
thing. Yeah, and like we're like I don't want to know your things. I don't want to show you my thing. I want us to be able to react real time. And I think we will agree on most of it. I might go a little bit deeper into it because it's just kind of who I am. But Yeah, so I'm saving it all. And I still want us, even if it's only like a 5-minute thing, we can do this on the next 476ers. What Game of Thrones character? At least let's say what Game of Thrones character is Michael Jordan. We don't have to do all of them.
Who do you think it is?
You want me to tell you now?
Yeah, might as well.
Yo. Yo. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come